I want to personally thank the Ohio State University for everything they've done for me. I am officially going to go to the NBA, and I just want to thank our coaches, uh, the university. My teammates. I couldn't done none of this without everybody that played an intricate part into my life. So I just want to thank the Ohio State University for everything they have done for me, and looking forward to the journey that's about to come.
So, like, what was the determining factor for you? You obviously balled it for more than a year or so.
The biggest thing was, I sat down with my family, and we pretty much came up with decisions. And I think it's best for me to try to go at it at the next level. And also, I wouldn't do anything to hurt this program or any of the guys that's a part of this program. And I just thought it was best for me to do that.
Jared, this is a decision that people have been speculating on since basically you stepped foot on campus. When did you finally arrive at this decision? And also, secondly, whose game in the NBA do you compare your game to right now?
Personally, this decision kind of came about with us getting to the Final Four, and it was a lot. Coach Mata, I had a talk with him, and he pretty much told me, he said, do what's best for me. And I thought the best decision for me was go to the NBA. And if I could compare myself to anybody in the NBA, I wouldn't say I'm as good as Kevin Love, but I have the body type and the skill set of Kevin Love.
This is for Thad and Jared. With the new NCAA deadline that pushed the decision-making process up for the players, I wonder how that is not only how that impacted your decision, Jared, but also, Thad, how you view that rule and how it might affect players like Deshaun and his decision-making, guys that maybe are sort of right there debating what to do, how that rule might positively or negatively impact their process.
Well, I think, in the process, the one thing I've found in just talking with organizations is they're a lot more thorough at this time, which is probably a good thing in terms of, the homework they've done on kids. Normally they're at this stage in late May. So I think from that standpoint, it's good. You need to take that, Satch? Yeah, it's an agent. But no, I think from that standpoint, it's probably good. And from a coach's perspective, it kind of allows you to get a better grip on your team and, what you have coming back and where you're going in that regard.
Did that push your decision up at all, Jared, or was it?
Honestly, I think what really pushed my decision up was I think April 10th was I think it's called ARP, right?
Yep.
I didn't want to damage anything for this university, and so basically, I kind of put the university first, and sat down with my family last night, and we kind of came up with a decision.
Jared, 65 wins, 2 Big Ten championships. Just talk about the legacy, what you did here in 2 years. They've never had 2 years where they've won that many games in a 2-year period.
I think you really can't say it's all about me. Without my teammates, none of this would be possible. Without the coaching staff or the university, for us to have such a nice facility. So, all that plays into factor. But my teammates and my coaches, we really put in the hard work, and we just did a lot to work on building a legacy here, and hopefully it can carry over next year.
Jared, just curious, do you feel like completely at peace with this decision, or is there any little nagging thing in the back of your head? And on the same token, last year when you made the decision to stay, did you feel completely at peace, or did you have any nagging thing in the back of your head?
Last year I felt completely at peace, and also with this year, completely at peace. I feel like this decision is right for me, and I think it works out with my situation.
I wanted to ask about your brothers. How much were they involved in the decision? What reaction they may have had? They were two very good college players, but they didn't have this opportunity. I'm just wondering
You don't
what
have to
their
be
input.
polite since they're sitting here, but I mean, you know, when you have two older brothers that pretty much pound on you, pretty much tell you how it is, and don't sugarcoat nothing, and they pretty much told me whatever decision I make, they're fine with it, and as long as I just do what's right for me, and they just supported me all the way through my whole life. And so when you have two brothers that whatever decision you make, they're right behind you, following you 100%. I think my decision was real easy.
Knowing the regard that you've got for this place, in another day and time, would you have liked to stay and play 4 years? And along with that, I know you said a couple weeks ago you didn't care what your stock was, but given what's happened in the past year, did you feel at this point you just couldn't afford to wait any longer to go to the NBA?
I mean, in reality, you would love to play 4 years at a university, and that has done so much for you. I mean, being a hometown kid and pretty much trying to build a legacy at The Ohio State University, one of the greatest universities in the world. You would want to play for 4 years, but given what happened in the past year, and people got better, people got worse. But I mean, stock really doesn't mean too much to me at this point. It's just all about just want to do what's best for my situation. I thought the best for my situation was going to the next level.
You mentioned the Final Four and being at peace with this decision. Was that kind of the final thing in place to give you such peace? If you hadn't gotten that far, do you think you'd have the same kind of peace right now about this decision?
You really can't really say yes, you can't really say no. That's a tough one to answer, but I mean, going to the Final Four, with a team that many people said we wasn't good enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't mentally tough enough, and still be able to get to the Final Four with all the ups and downs we had, and I mean, I think that was tremendous for this basketball team, and but the biggest decision was once we got to the Final Four, we was trying to win it, but unfortunately we fell short, but. I mean, I feel at peace with the decision I'm making now.
How much did maybe the injury concerns or that kind of issues, how much did that play into your decision?
Not much. Things can happen. You can't control what happens to you, and so things just naturally happen, and the injuries had no input on my decision.
Could you kind of address his readiness for this step compared to the other 6 players that you've had from here who've gone early, both mentally and physically, maturity-wise, things like that?
Yeah. Well, I think this with Jared. I've always said he's probably one of the most intellectual players that I've ever coached, and he came in that way as a freshman. His understanding, things people don't know is he studies the game, not only the college game but the NBA game. I mean, he can tell you a lot about a lot of basketball issues. I think for him the timing is definitely right. I think that the impact that he has made on this program, and not really just the 2 years he was here, his high school career and all the things that he's done. He spent 2 years here, but with JJ here and all the time he's been around our program, it literally feels like I've coached him for more than 2 years. And I think, the hardest part is you develop a friendship with a guy. I'm going to miss Jared as a player, but I'm going to miss him more as a person on a daily basis. And that's always the hardest part for me. There's no doubt in my mind he's ready. And strictly from the standpoint of, he's got a great skill set, he's got a great understanding of the game, but I think the biggest attribute that Jared Sullinger has is he's a winner. He wins, and that's something that I've learned throughout the process. I don't care if it's high school, college, NBA, when you get a guy who cares about winning, you're going to be successful, and I think that's the greatest thing with him. He's, I've said this, I had another player like him a few years ago, David West, that every night I took the floor, I knew I had 20 and 12. I don't know what everybody else is going to do, but that's a great feeling as a coach, and it's a security blanket for a coach, and I think that was one of the greatest things I enjoyed about our time together.
In terms of your program, do you have options at this point for what you can do to take steps towards at least numerically replacing him?
Yeah, I mean, I've known since Jared got here, this was probably going to be the end of the road, and the one thing I will say is not only did he make us a better program, a better team. I mean, the list of accomplishments over the 2-year span that he's been here is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and probably the one that nobody's going to find out until we start the season next year is how much better he made the other guys. And I'm excited with who we have coming back, and for a couple of these guys, they knew they were going to back Jared up this year. So did we ever really see the true side of those guys? I think, all of them now have a hunger. They have a desire. Because let's face it, I know this, they want to be sitting up here at some point talking about their future, and hopefully they're going to do the work they need to do to become that player.
Coach, you're not turning pro, are you? You're coming back next year?
I'm trying to get this foot right, and if things go accordingly, I think I'd have a shot, No, I've always said this. The day I played in college against Indiana Pacers, when I was at Butler, he used to come out and train with us. Reggie Miller, it was his rookie year, and I remember walking back to my dorm, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, that's not going to be your career choice. You need to go into coaching. So I was, well ahead of my time on that one.
For both coaches here, where have you seen Jared grow the most over the last 2 years, and what does he still need to work on?
Go ahead, Saj.
Well, I've watched him grow, mature. Skill set's always been there, but last year at this time, I wasn't comfortable with the option of him possibly going to the NBA, but it still was his choice. But as a parent, I wasn't comfortable. Watching him grow, Jared's had it pretty easy in basketball. He's been injury-free. Everything's been really easy for him. And this year, I watched the peaks and the valleys, and I watched him mature. There's only one way to get experience, and that's by being inexperienced in the situation. And I watched him be a lot immature in certain things, and I watched him work his way out of it and mature, and I saw that consistency starting to come back during their end of the season run all the way through the Final Four. And at this point, I was sitting down talking to my older two boys, and I had to come to the realization that I don't have any little boys anymore. I have 3 grown men, and I'm totally comfortable with the decision he's made.
And for me, I think this, Jared has a lot of different things that he can do on the basketball floor. And I think that's, if I'm a NBA organization, I'm looking and saying, he's going to help our team. For us, do you see everything that he can possibly do? No. But I think that's where it becomes the pieces of the puzzle of what he's going to be able to do there. You saw signs throughout his career here of, geez, I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know he could do that. Wow, that was impressive, And so I think that's going to be the beauty for him is he's going to the next level with a lot of different things that he can bring to the table, and I think that's what makes him such a special player.
Yeah, Jared, 2 things. You probably heard the word lift this year more than you cared to hear it. Were there any injuries, either the earlier injuries this season or anything since then, that contributed to maybe you not being physically able to do everything that you think you're capable of doing?
When I had the back problem, I had back spasms. That kind of played in the role of losing my lift. But as far as ever since then, and the foot injury, I think that that pretty much disappeared, and now it's time to work on my explosiveness, and so right back in the gym.
How, at the NBA level, where you're projected as a power forward, how do you think the defense on you is going to change? And conversely, at the other end of the floor, how is it going to change for you having to defend that position versus the 5?
It's going to be a little bit different. You know, you're going to have, you know, maybe 6'10", 6'11", 4 men that can shoot the ball and also can put it on the floor. So, you know, got to get the lateral quickness back and just work on my defense from there. And then on the offense end, you know, those same guys have to guard me. So, you know, sometimes I can play back to the basket. Sometimes I have to face up. So it's just going to be the matter of a matchup.
For both Jared and Thad, there's another player on the team too, and Deshaun, that might be making a similar decision. Has he approached you, Jared, at all about your process of coming to this decision, and have you had any discussions with Deshaun about that, and how do you gauge whether he's ready or not?
I really haven't talked to Deshaun about this situation. I think personally, that's a decision that he has to make with his family and also with the coaches. And so, you know, whatever he does, I support him 100%. But I haven't talked to him.
I'm in the process right now of just trying to get as much information as I can for him in terms of talking with teams and. You know, I want to give him all the information so he can make the best decision that he possibly can.
Jared, was 2 years sort of in your head when you got to Ohio State? Was that in the back of your mind, how you envisioned things?
Not really. You know, freshman year, coming in, doing the numbers that I did was, you know, kind of caught me off guard personally. And with me doing that and understanding that, you know, going to the next level, it's going to be more of a business. I mean, at the age of 18, 19, you're not really prepared for it. And, you know, just coming in, you know, trying to get another year of experience under your belt, trying to get yourself mentally prepared if you make a decision like that. And I thought that this year really helped me out tremendously because, you know, me going against sometimes going against the refs or me going against double teams kind of got me mentally prepared for, you know, maybe one day playing a back-to-back-to-back and just getting focused off of that. So I think mentally this year was big time for me.
And you had mentioned before about wanting to build a legacy here. I think every player wants to do that. What do you think your legacy is at Ohio State?
You know, that's something that, you know, you guys have to determine that as media, and whatever y'all say, I go by. That's on y'all. That's on y'all.
Jared, you were just talking about what you got out of this year. Was this year fun? Because there was times when it got to be a grind. Was it more of a grind this year for you, or?
I think with the two different teams that, you know, I played for here at Ohio State, you know, freshman year it seemed like it was so much easier when you have somebody like John Diebler that's shooting 50% from the three-point line, and this year it seemed like there's times where it was tougher because you know, people are trying to you know, leave certain players. They double most of the time, and so I just thought it was a more mental game. Finding my ways how to beat a double team or finding my other ways how to score. And so I thought mentally that it was a big time adjustment for me this year.
One thing for Thad too, I mean, you've been through this before with guys. You always say you want what's best for the kid and what makes them happy. How do you know, obviously you'd like to have everybody for 4 years to coach him, but you also know that it's inevitable. What are your emotions like on a day like this when, you know, as you said, you're saying goodbye to somebody that you like not only as a player, as a person, but at the same time it, you know, isn't great for the team next year, but, you know, it is what it is, though.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day where somebody wants to make Coach Mata happy. Yeah. When's that day coming? You know? Yeah. No, I think this, and you know, this is, I don't know how many years in coaching. The day you lose sight of what's best for your players, you probably need to find a new profession. And you know, we've been through a ton here in that regard. But I think the thing that I like the most is the program continues to develop, it continues to grow, and it does so in the right way. And you know, you look at what Jared did from the standpoint of not only on the basketball court, but what he did in the community, what he did academically while he was here. You know, those are the things that make me feel like we're building the right thing. You know, in terms of my emotions, you know, we just sort of, you go through this, and I think your top tier programs in the country, we all sort of deal with the same thing. So, you know, when it's all said and done, we pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and say, okay, what do we got to do to win again next year?
Jared, I mean, a lot of guys who have, you know, I know you didn't play with anybody who was one and done here, who went early to the NBA, but a lot of them have talked about how it does become a business versus maybe being a kid. Did you talk to anybody about that aspect of it, and how much is that kind of?
You know, Evan Turner pretty much told me. He said this is going to be the best time of your life. You got to understand that, you know, when you go to the next level, it's about a business. So I mean, if this is what you really want, then do it. And he told me that, and I thought that was the biggest advice that somebody ever gave to me about going to the next level. So I think that helped me out tremendously.
When you see somebody go there and maybe not do as well as they would have hoped, do you kind of sympathize with maybe the pressure that's put on that kind of a player?
Not at all. I mean, I think, you know, that's something that they have to handle and they have to understand that, you know, coming from being top 10, you know, in the draft or being top 60 in the draft or whatever it is, you know, you got to make your way. And there's multiple people that's coming in every year that, you know, that are hungry, and you got to understand that, you know, this is a business, and if the business is not winning and the money's not coming in, you got to understand that you're gone. So I think right now it's just understanding that you got to be more hungry at the next level.
Satch, how old was Jared when you first thought that this day would one day happen, or might one day happen?
Probably about 7. I taught him his footwork with the rest of the boys about 2 or 3 at the foot of the bed, and I watched him start playing outside, and he learned footwork before he developed any bad habits. And I was watching him handle the ball, and I knew that this was a possibility. And then I watched him participate in his own dream, and at that point I felt like it was going to become reality. You know, it's one thing when you want it for your son or your players, but when your son or your player wants it for themselves and they've been blessed with the skill, then you know it's a possibility. So, yeah, about middle school when I watched him play, a game when he had 25 rebounds that Jay came and told Coach Mata about, I knew right then it was, you know, his hands and his feet, and I knew the weight would take care of itself. So I knew right then he had a great shot at it. You know, and adding on to what Coach Mata was talking about, part of, you know, things that Jared can do that people haven't seen. You know, Trey Burke was my best ball handler and my best passer on my team. My second best ball handler and passer on the team was Jared. And there was times when he had to bring the ball up the floor and had to run point, and we put Trey over to the 4 because they were doubling and triple teaming him. And so there's a lot more to his game that people haven't seen yet, because at this point, Jared has been taught you always do what's best for the team, not what's best for you. And if Jared's asked to play the 4, he played the 4. But there's a lot of skill set there that a lot of people haven't seen yet.
Jared, one for Jared, one for Thad. You knocked off about, 25 pounds last summer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what did you finish the season at, and what are your plans for this off season going into the draft?
During the season, I personally gained 5 pounds. Felt off balance. didn't feel strong enough in the paint. So purposely gained 5 pounds and finished the season at 269. So and then I mean, losing that 25 pounds was good for me, but I mean, just maintaining it and keeping it off was the biggest part.
What do you want? Do you want to stay at that weight going into the
At
draft?
this point, it's all about what these teams want from me. What's best for the next level. It's not what's best for me at this point.
Thad, regarding what you said about Deshaun, you being in the process of looking into the draft for him, that new deadline that the NCAA set this year, is that as long as he doesn't say anything or file anything, is that really just an artificial deadline? He can go up until April 29th to enter the. Can he work out without jeopardizing his ability to come back or not? Do you know?
Yes. Yes.
He doesn't file paperwork.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So April 29th then would be the working date as far as that goes.
Right.
This is for Mrs. Sullinger, if you're up for questions too. Just what's it like to watch your son finish this part of his life and get ready to move on to the next part of his life?
Oh, just very gratifying. It's just, he's worked really, really hard, as any athlete does, on the collegiate level. And so I'm just very, very happy and very grateful.
Did you think this was an easy decision for him, watching him and helping him try to make this, or was it difficult, or do you feel like your son knew for sure this was the best thing?
I think he knew for sure that it was the best thing, but it wasn't easy. I think it was a difficult decision. I mean, in the best of all worlds, he would have been here for 4 years and gone on, but this is what he needs to do right now. This is the best thing for him now.
One more thing, when your dad talked about the different parts of your game that we haven't seen yet, do you feel like that you didn't get to show a lot of maybe just some different things that you can bring to the game of basketball?
There's times, but at the same time, if I decided to think towards myself and think about, I can be doing this more, I can do that more, we wouldn't have got to the Final Four because I've been playing selfishly for me instead of the team, and I thought I told Coach Mata, I said, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it, and he just told me to go out there and play basketball, and if I step out of my boundaries, he will let me know, but whatever was best for this basketball team was I was pretty much going to do it, and I wasn't always thinking about what I can do, what I can show the world I can do. It was all about, as long as Ohio State wins, I'm fine.
Jared, when your mom was answering that about when your mom was answering that about it not being an easy decision, you were nodding. What is the, even though you're at peace with it, what is the toughest part of doing what you did today?
The toughest part is just leaving. One is leaving family behind. I'm not like Evan or Greg or Mike, where to the point where they went out of town to spend time at college, get used to living without their mother or father or brothers. I was a little bit different. It was in Columbus, so whenever I had a chance to go home, I went home. So the biggest thing is just family, and then this university done so much for me, and I don't know how I can repay it, but I mean, Buckeye Nation was grateful towards me. They did so much for me, and I just appreciate everything this university have done for me. And without Coach Mata giving me the shot, or without James going into his office and begging him for him to recruit the little short fat kid, I'm just blessed to have people around me like that.
Steps between now and June 28th. What do you have to do? What are you going to do? And are you still going to be doing school, or are you?
Right now, so I don't jeopardize the GPA because I don't know where I'm going to be at. I kind of dropped out, but my mom made me look her in the eye and promise her that I'll get a degree. So I will be, in classes soon. Any type of class as long as it's towards my degree. But right now it's the process of where who I'm going to hire as an agent, and then we're going to move from there.
Mom, is that right? You got him to swear he's going to come back and get that degree, or?
If you're going to be Barbara Sullinger's son, you have to get a college degree. That's one thing they know they have to do.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to correct Jared. He didn't drop out, he withdrew. It's a big difference. Yeah, there's a huge difference between dropping out and withdrawing, so.
Connotation is a little different.
Real quick for Jared, and then a question for Thad. What will you get your degree in when you do get it?
My major was sports management. So.
Okay. And I know you've been asked about this countless times before about the early entry rule with the NBA. And when you sit here and you listen to how, I mean, a kid who's a two-time first-team All-American, which not many people do that, and people are talking about his stock dropping. What's, in your mind, what's the best thing for a kid in his position to be able to do? Is it everybody should have the chance to go out of high school, and then if you don't, then you go to college for 2 or 3 years, mandated, or what? What do you think's best?
You know, when you said, I've been asked this so many times, I thought you were going to ask me about subbing. But, yeah, no, I think, in all seriousness, I think so much of this NBA stuff is tainted from the standpoint of Jared has to go, and he's got to produce. If he goes first, if he goes 51st, there's going to be an opportunity given, and you have to make the most of the opportunity. And I don't know, Bob, honestly, if I can say go out of high school 1 year, 2 years, 3. I don't know the answer. I think that he will be better prepared being in college for 2 years to do the work that he's going to need to do, to face the challenges that he's going to need to face, simply because of maturity. And you know, I equate a guy like David West, who had an opportunity to come out, and he wanted to come back for his senior year. He's a National Player of the Year. I remember him breaking down the draft for me, telling me, look, don't get me drafted 18th. I want to go 21st to the Lakers because the money doesn't matter to me. I just want to play and I want to win. I'll make up the money in the play. I mean, David was brilliant in that regard. Well, he doesn't play a ton his freshman year or his rookie year. He keeps telling me, I'm telling you, I'm going to play. Well, he's a 2-time NBA All-Star now. So it's all about the opportunity and what a guy is willing to make of that opportunity in my mind. Depending 1 year, 2, whatever, what's he going to do? What's Jared going to do this afternoon to get himself ready to play in the NBA is kind of how I view it.
Have you offered anything to another generation of Sullingers? I just wondered if you were.
Oh, he's in.
Go out.
Jalen's in. Yeah. Right. No, that one's done. You ought to see him shoot. It's unbelievable. Jalen will be a Buckeye. And he goes to church with my kids, so I get to see him sing on Christmas and Easter and those types of things. He's got a great voice, too.
Jared, I just wanted to add, you kind of live in the dream that so many millions of kids dream of when they're younger. When did you remember first starting to think about, I want to play in the NBA, or I could play in the NBA someday?
When I first started thinking about playing in the NBA was I was young. You know, that's everybody's dream when you're watching Michael Jordan hitting that last shot against Utah Jazz or the flu game, and you're just thinking, I want to be in a game like that. Or and then when I realized that I have a shot was going into my junior year of high school. When I was getting all this publicity, and so basically, realizing that I have a talent and I have to pursue that talent and make it a hobby, or better yet, make it a job.
Going off of what Coach Mata was saying about David West, growing up, you've been the focal point, I'm guessing, of every team you've been on. Depending on what team you get drafted by, you could be a starter, you could be a role player. How do you feel that you're prepared for a situation where you could be coming off the bench?
My freshman year of high school, I had this big old mean man as a coach named Jared Sullinger that made me come off the bench. But nah, I'm playing. But you know, my father made me come off the bench my freshman year, so I'm kind of used to that. And then also 7th grade, wasn't really playing a lot. I was playing for Columbus Jaguars, and every day I just worked and worked and just, you know, when I had that shot, I kind of pursued that shot and just kept working from there. And so I had my ups and my downs, but you know, whatever happens, happens, and I'm prepared for whatever happens.
Thanks, guys. See you in October.